Mm, all right. That's showing that's live. Um, where are we? What's the time? Nearly time. That's all right. That's 7 o'clock. All right. Kia ora, g'day. Welcome anybody that's there. I'm not sure if any. Oh yeah, somebody's on. DMC 70. Cheers, brother. Good to see you there. Welcome back for this week's live. There's only It's only a couple of things, really. Well, actually, five things. The last one, sixth one, maybe not so much. Maybe I'll start with that one. Yes, I have seen the latest update on the All Blacks. Yeah, so anyway, who knows what's going to happen or who will be the next coach, but Razor Scott Robertson, no longer the All Blacks coach. So yeah, him and the board sounds like mutually agreed, and he stood down. I've seen all the other headlines on YouTube saying that he was sacked and all this sort of stuff. Anyway, I listened to what's her name, the chair, bloody former All Blacks captain, who was talking about the briefly about the conversation that was had with Scott Robertson. Anyway, so yeah, seen that. Be interesting to see what happens going forward. So that's that one done. Where are we? Let's move this. Okay, I'll probably maybe I'll do this one next. Questions come through in and around what's with the new YouTube channel, the SAS Reality Check. Yeah, so that's a new channel. I haven't put any content on there yet. Actually, I tell a lie. I've put some content on there now, but I've scheduled it to start next week because I've only got currently 2 videos on there. So yeah, that channel is just I still get a ton of messages and queries around different things, and um, to do with selection, to do with cycle, to do with time in the regiment, impacts on family, personal challenges, all that sort of stuff. And so I thought, oh man, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, things that I've sort of put off to the side because the list of the reactions is quite long, and rather than just putting them all into the current channel, I thought I've also received a few questions, suggestions, comments from people saying that it would be good if there was a way to just have all the Q&A type questions dedicated in one spot. So I thought a playlist might sort that out. I don't know how it's showing up. I have got a playlist. I do usually try to put those things into a playlist, but maybe it's not as effective as having its own channel. So anyway, long-winded answer, created that channel just recently and starting to chip away at doing those videos and just putting my perspective in regards to people's queries, questions, concerns, etc. And there, some people, vast majority from what I've seen so far, or what I gather is people that are actually preparing for selection, that are going to be going on to selection at some stage, whether that's in NZ or in Australia. And then there may be some that are just curious and just want to have a bit of a nosy and an idea about certain aspects in terms of selection or the cycle or time in the regiment itself. So where I can, where it feels like it's okay, where it feels appropriate enough to be able to share some of that information, particularly I guess stuff in and around time in the regiment. I suppose there's quite a lot of stuff out there already, which has probably already answered a lot of questions. But people, I suppose, have asked for my take and perspective. So I'll look to try to give that where I can, where I think it's okay without causing any. Hopefully, it doesn't cause any issues. I don't think it will. So that's what the deal is with the second YouTube channel. I think I've tried to add a link to that either on a post and in the channel description of this one of the Go Always a Little Further channel. So yeah, but like I said, there's nothing on there yet, but there will be starting next week, Monday, which is I think is a public holiday here for us in Aotearoa, New Zealand, or in Wellington anyway. So maybe it's just for Wellington. Te Whanganui Tara Wellington anniversary, is it? Maybe. Anyway, um, so that's that one. Uh, this one here, I should probably leave for the the SAS reality check. And maybe I'll still put it in there, but I'll answer it now, seeing as this is a question that came up recently in one of the videos not that long ago. So the person put in the comments of one of the videos, is there a height requirement to be selected either in NZ or Australia? Only reason I'm asking is because I'm 5'9", and I'm afraid would be my only downfall. Um, to be selected net. So I assumed when I responded to this, I assumed that they were talking about the SAS and the unit itself. As I reread it just now, is there a height requirement to be selected either in New Zealand or Australia? I don't know if the person means for just the army in general. Um, I'll likely, or for here, I'll likely, like I was going to say, I'll likely use this in the, I've forgotten the name of it already, reality check channel, SAS, the reality check channel, and put this question in there and put an answer in there. But in summary or in short, no, there's no height requirement that I'm aware of to be selected for either NZ or Australia. Not that I'm aware of. I know plenty of people that are 5'9", a number that are shorter. If that were the case, if there was a height requirement, that would put a number of females, from a general perspective, um, that would limit them or restrict them from being able to join, or a number of people, not all females, but a number of females if they wanted to join. So if you're talking purely from a selection perspective and the unit, again, the answer is no. I know a number of people that are, you know, 5'9", 5'8", some even a bit shorter. There likely is, oh, actually, I don't know if there is for selection, just to get on to selection. It would probably be something that they would be watching to see how that particular candidate performed and how they went. Obviously, disadvantages to it. Um, maybe some advantages to it, and from the Australian selection perspective, when you're talking lucky dip and some of the stores carry stuff, possibly. But otherwise, no. I think you're fine. So you shouldn't be worrying about that. So that's that one. Uh, what have we got here? When's part 3 of the No Specific Order series coming out, and what's it about? So when's part 3 of the No Specific Order? So the No Specific Order series that will stay on this channel, for what I've got so far, um, and that's just me trying to tell a story, right? Some of the stuff that I've been lucky enough to do over time, and the first couple of stories starts with my journey onto the New Zealand selection. Then the second part of that, part 2, I did was in regards to the cycle, my time on the New Zealand cycle itself, and I've ended that one there. But there's plenty, not just the army side of things. Um, there's some stuff that have come about. So I get some queries and questions from people in regards to working in that reintegration space. Um, I was fortunate to work in that space as a service manager for a service here in Wellington, in the hut, for men that have been in and out of the prison system. Done a lot of offending, done a lot of major offending, and yeah, people that have, you know, that some of them talk a good game, like trying to game the system and wanting to get out and wanting to make a change. You've got those people that do a lot of the yapping and talk, and then you've got those that are genuine about it, that actually take action. So, what will it be about? There's a whole bunch of things that's yeah. There's just a few little things, but anyway, probably eventually, I suppose the way part 1 and 2 have gone, it probably lends itself to flow into um, my journey into the ADF, and then maybe into the selection, and then what cycle was like, and then into the regiment, and then chop and change and bounce around wherever from there. So I don't know yet, but we'll see how it goes. And what I just mentioned there, maybe that's the the initial sequencing of events of how the next parts may go in the No Specific Order series. So yeah, thanks for the some of the comments and stuff that have come through on there, and people's thoughts shared on those as well. So yeah, so we'll see how it all pans out. Um, oh, what's this? What's that popped up on there? Kia ora, Joe. How's your Friday? Yep, awesome. It's good. Hey, Joe, new channel sounds good, mate. I'll be subscribed. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it's more Q&A stuff on that channel predominantly at this stage anyway, just because of the backlog of stuff that has come through and that I usually get in and around that space. But yeah, Friday's been good at Talk 5018. So thank you for that. Hopefully everybody's Friday's been good too. I should have asked that as well when I jumped on here. Anyway, so did the hype one, did the YouTube channel one, did the no specific order series, did that one. This one's just a comment, a kind comment that I received actually, come through on the messages, and just says here, "Hi mate, just a quick note to say it's great to see you've put a channel membership option up for those of us who just want to show a little extra support for what you do and the content you put out. No need for perks for me, and at $1.99, mate, that's a steal. I don't think you realize the value you provide. That's kind. You could and should, in my opinion, charge more, but it's your show, mate, and I'm here for it. It's been great watching your channel grow during 2025. Here's to 2026. Cheers, digger." Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Um, Very kind comment. So, yeah, you will see how it goes. Appreciate those that have reached out and have asked about that, and to those that have taken the time to essentially donate, for want of a better term, to the channel. So yeah, the channel membership option, it doesn't give you an option to not offer any perks. So I think I chose a live stream one or something, and then I put a comment down there from time to time or occasionally for channel members. It's just a channel supporter option for those that were interested or those that wanted to have a look. So anyway, that's that. What have we got here? No, that's that. Oh yeah, this one. Um, and this we might, yeah, we'll see how we go, whether or not I do those other ones, because I think I'll probably leave those ones for the reality check channel actually, because they're more questions to do specifically with selection, and they look like they've come through from people that that are preparing for selection. But this one is a little different, so I'll go through this one. Hey mate, uh, you mentioned in an earlier video or perhaps a live that you felt that the Australian essay selection was more technical than the NZ essay selection. Yep, I did. I said I gave the edge from a technical perspective to the Australian selection. Um, do you think the NZ essay selection should incorporate more technical aspects into their selection? And do you think it would help in determining whether or not someone is suitable for further training on cycle? Um, cool questions. Do you think the NZSA selection should incorporate more technical? No, I don't think it would hurt their selection, but you know, the Kiwis have got it sussed. Like they've got a good process, they've got a great system. It's tried, tested, proven. I've said that a number of times. Same for Australia, same for the UK, same in the US. Like they've got their structure, their processes, their system, what they look for, how they go about assessing those things. They've got that sussed. So, do I think that NZ specifically should incorporate more technical aspects? No, they don't need to. Why? Because cycle's going to be technical enough with regards to delving into the nitty gritty and a person's ability. But to your second part, your second question that you've got here, do you think it would help in determining whether or not someone is suitable for further training on cycle? That's a good, interesting point. I think it could. Again, I think it could help with determining earlier, potentially earlier, rather than waiting till on cycle to see if they've got the aptitude to be able to be trained in the things that they are going to be expected to do. Should they progress onto cycle? Should they progress into the regiment? I'm speaking from a New Zealand and Australian perspective, right? So they have a selection. NZ and Australia have a selection piece. Then you go into a 8 to 12 month or longer cycle, which is all your different courses. UKSF selection, they've got their selection, which goes for 6 months, and that incorporates. So their version is like the it's the selection and the cycle combined. If I was to use in New Zealand and Australian references or terms, but it doesn't end after that for the UK, nor does it end after selection and cycle in NZ or Australia. So that still carries on. But do you think it would help in determining whether or not someone is suitable for further training on cycle? Um, yeah, potentially, just because of the ability to add in um, tasks and leadership roles and followership roles and um, mini missions, for want of a better term, for people to then have to step up, step outside their comfort zone and lead those. So that's part of why I gave the edge from a technical perspective to Australia, not because it's and I'm not talking technical in terms of IT stuff and all that sort of thing and use of technology, although some of that is probably maybe getting incorporated into selections these days. I don't know that it would, because I think in NZ and Australia, that probably the more appropriate place to incorporate that stuff would probably be on the cycle rather than in a selection. Selection, you're just getting flogged. You're just getting flogged and hammered and made to feel weak and miserable and likely, like me, at different times, looking weak and miserable on the selection, and probably at times on cycle as well. And seeing if you can adapt, seeing if you can adjust, seeing if you can make the changes necessary to be able to show that you could be a good fit or be an operator within the unit. That's my take on it anyway. So um, yeah, I might delve into that a little bit more. Just something's popped up here. Uh, Sorry, move that out of the way. Oh man, at Peter Pike 9617, welcome to channel. Thank you very much, bro. Appreciate that. BW Harris, yeah, yeah. What's this? Yeah, definitely agree with Digger's thoughts and still, oh, thank you. Still remain keen on the original idea of differing levels of monetary support if you choose to reinstate it all or the future best. Thank you for that, bro. Appreciate it. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, particularly those that have reached out with those types of messages and then taken the step to do something like that. Yeah, definitely means a lot, eh? So thank yous very much. Um, Sorry, I was coming back to the technical aspects. I can't remember exactly what I said last time, and I don't know whether I did a video on it or whether it was a live. I think it might have been during a live. Um, but yeah, in the Australian selection, parts of those technical aspects, I suppose, which New Zealand doesn't have, well, during my time anyway on selection, the New Zealand selection I found was a lot more on your own, a lot more isolation, and expected to drive yourself and expected to just do things on your own, get up and do things on your own. Even the um, even the 60 clicker, even though you leave a few minutes apart, and if you were passing somebody, you wanted to make sure that you didn't get caught talking to anyone at any time along that route. Because you'd get in trouble. Same with during the open country and the close country navigation. Um, Even during Von Temsky, when we were in small teams by that stage on my selection and going through, you weren't allowed to. You didn't want to get caught having a chit chat to anyone. Did we mumble a few words or mutter a few words or try and get some communication going in our team from time to time? Yeah, for sure. We tried to. Um, Always head on a swivel type stuff and looking around and making sure that it was clear before we did. And we weren't having a bloody gas bag like walking conversation as we're going through the dunes, because it was miserable and it was painful. And part of that as well was they wanted us to be in our own head. And so because of that, none of us, well, I can only speak for myself, but I assume none of us, but definitely for myself, was too keen on getting snaptured having a conversation with somebody, because I didn't think that would go down well in terms of not listening to a pretty simple instruction to not talk to one another. Um, so from the Australian side, technical aspects, it sort of encompasses, from when I say technical aspects, it encompasses the isolation piece. It encompasses small teams, like in pairs, maybe in a group of three, different little tasks and aspects during the earlier phases of the selection. And then you've got um, the last phase, the lucky dip phase, where you're covering a heck of a lot of ground, carrying a lot of gear, but you've got a leadership structure which you have to have. Somebody's made the team leader or patrol commander, somebody's a 2IC, and you've been given a briefing on what needs to happen, where you need to go to, what you need to take, and potentially what you then need to do when you get there. And you stay in charge of that team or of that group, and your group might be a section size, might be 10, 12 people size, or it could be 5 or 6, or it might start with a larger number and end up with 4 or 5, or whatever the case might be. And so from that perspective, when I say technical, you're in the hot seat. You're the leader, you're giving the briefs, you're responsible for managing your men, the team, the morale of the team. You're working with and communicating with the directing staff while you're also getting air bashed for other things that they'll bring up. And you're being assessed on how you manage all of that, how you lead, how you cope with all that stress and pressure, and um, how that manifests itself when you are tired, when you've got no food in your guts, and you can see your team, your men are tired as well, but they've got to get this job done. And what do you do as a leader when you're put in the hot seat, and also what do you do as a follower or when you're a team member, and how do you respond, how do you carry yourself, etc. So all of those things from from the which one is more technical, or which one did I find more technical personally, those are the reasons, and there's probably a few others which I just can't think of off the top of my head right now, as to why I found the Australian one, yeah, more technical. At the end of the day, what I will say is they are both freaking hard, in my opinion. So some of these questions have stemmed from the earlier video that I did however long ago, where I was getting asked. I have to admit, I can't remember the last time I've been asked that question. Which one is harder? Maybe it's because that video that I've put up. Um, but like I tried to say for context nearing the end of that video, um, I found the New Zealand one harder because I was younger. It was the hardest thing I'd done up until that point. First exposure to it, had no idea what to expect. Um, wasn't expecting to be as hungry as I was, to be as weak as I was. Also, wasn't expecting to, at times, in particular on the 60 clicker, to get a boost of energy like I did. Um, and when I came off the end of that selection, yeah, I was thinking stoked, happy, whatever words there are to describe it, euphoric, whatever the words are. But my body was pretty broken. Um, yeah, for me, like I was, I was at the end of my tether as a 20-year-old completing selection. For me, like I couldn't do much more, and it took me several weeks to recover before I started to feel normal again. Before I put weight back on, and before I felt like I had any sort of decent level of strength to be able to lift stuff, to be able to run again, and even just move my body weight, let alone carry equipment. So when I come off the end of the Australian selection, I didn't feel like that. I was tired. Yep, I was sore. Um, but I guess the mental scarring of what I had already been through in NZ, and the shock that that was to me at that time, uh, I didn't feel the same. Like I didn't feel it didn't take me as long. I didn't feel to recover. Yeah, it still took some time, a few days, maybe a week, um, to feel. I wouldn't say fully recovered, but feel recovered enough to lift again, more than just my body weight, to run and to train. Maybe not quite 100% as per normal, but pretty close. And because of that, that that's the reason. I have no doubt, if I had done the Australian selection at 20, going for 3 weeks, I would have likely felt exactly the same as I felt after the NZ one. And then if I had have done the New Zealand selection after the Australian one, I'd probably be sitting here saying that I found the Australian one harder. Um, so I know that that has wound a few people up the wrong way with regards to my comment about me finding the New Zealand one harder. Some people just haven't been able to get through their head. They're like, "How can you say that's harder when the Australian one's 3 weeks long? Like it's much longer. That your New Zealand one was only 8 to 10 days or whatever it is, or 19 days testing. How can you say that that one's harder?" So I'm just saying it was harder. My experience was that it was harder for me. Um, You might get some Australians come over if they were to do the New Zealand one, if they wanted to. I don't know. And I don't know if there has been. And they may say, no, the Australian one was way harder for them. Everybody's different, and each to their own. That's the shape I was in as a 20-year-old at the end of the NZ one. And then a couple of years after that, so 23, 24 thereabouts, by the time I did the Australian one, a little bit more maturity, maybe a little bit more growth and strength physically. I didn't come off the end of the Australian one, feeling as bad as I did on the New Zealand one. So that's my take for that one. Take it or leave it. It's not meant to upset anybody. It's just meant to try to answer the question that I was asked. So if you don't like it, too bad. That's that. Oh, what's on here? Duped 123. Hi Joe, love your stuff, mate. Thank you. In Oz selection, the random things DS make you learn. Is this relevant to soldiering skills, or are they just giving you purely random things to learn slash memorize? Great question, Dan. Kia ora, bro. So duped with regards to random things. So yeah, a number of those things. So if you watch the Search for Warriors documentary, I think that might be, I don't know what year selection that was, 2011, something like that. 9, 10, 11, something around there. The tasks where they're meeting with gorillas, as an example. Most people, especially me, during my time, I hadn't been exposed to meeting even though it's a role play by badged operators and support staff, hadn't been trained in infiltrating another country and meeting guerrillas there and then supporting their efforts to disrupt or do whatever it is that they're briefing you on, that they want you to help with. Um, and when you're thrown in as a person in charge like that sort of stuff, I know for me, I was flying by the seat of my pants. Like, so trying to break things down without going into all the details here, and I'll explain why I'm not going into all the details here for context before I carry on trying to give a few touch points. Um, for the selection, NZ, Australia, UK, no matter where you are, I think it's important that candidates go in there not knowing everything. And like I can speak to that. I didn't know everything when I went onto the New Zealand selection. Like when I say I didn't know everything, I didn't know the order of things, how it would go from day one right through to the end. I didn't know if the 60 clicker was the last thing. There was lots of uncertainty. The Australian one, I had no idea. Like when I was hearing Lone Warrior and Happy Wanderer and Lucky Dip for the first time, I was like, what the hell do these things even mean? And I didn't know what tasks were going to be thrown in those different stages of the selection. So Lone Warrior, you might get some of those random tasks that get thrown at you. And part of that, why I think it's important personally that people that are aspiring to go to that unit don't know everything, don't have the playbook, so to speak, is because that's part of what you're being tested on. Like, can you think quick on your feet? Can you adapt to what you're seeing and what's playing out in front of you? And can you respond in an appropriate way that, whatever the scenario is, maintains the the trust of the people that you're there to support and or help, as well as looking after your team and the people that you're with if you're in a team by that stage? Or can you show that you're capable of working through highly stressful situations when a chief or somebody isn't happy with you, and you see that on the Search for Warriors doco in Australia, so I'm not giving anything away here, when he then accuses one of the soldiers, one of the candidates on selection, for trying to sleep with his wife. So um, those types of tasks, I hadn't been exposed to any of that before. Not encouraging or suggesting that people practice those, but there's a level of uncertainty which I think is really healthy for anybody looking to go in and serve in that unit, because when you deploy on operations, not that I have massive, extensive amounts of operational deployment. I've been lucky enough to be in and out of the Middle East and other high risk places post my time in the military. So I suppose from that perspective, there's a bit. But in terms of operational deployments, for me, I was fortunate to deploy to East Timor with 4 RAR, and then privileged honored to deploy to Iraq in 2003 with the regiment. Um, and we did multiple patrols and tasks in Timor. In Iraq, wasn't really multiple, but there was lots of tasks, but it was one long duration when we went out into the Western Desert and we're trying to find the weapons of mass destruction, all that sort of stuff. But there were a whole bunch of other things that happened along the way whilst we were out on that deployment. Guys that have, the Harry Moffats of the world, the Nick Caldwells of the world, the Lincoln, um, all the other guys that you see, the horses of the world from the Bravery and Betrayal, the guys that have been in and out of Afghanistan during the global war on terror, as well as Iraq, but more so during the global war on terror, in and out of Afghanistan extensively. Like those guys have done multiple, like double digit deployments by and large for the most part. And then not including all the various in and out tasks, the highly kinetic type tasks that they were doing. So those things, linking back to your question, that's why I say the importance of, and it's probably self-explanatory, why I think the importance of having a healthy amount of uncertainty, um, anxiousness, maybe fear for some people. I don't think you need to be fearful on selection. Um, yeah, I don't know if I was fearful on selection. I think it was more just a lot of uncertainty and worrying about, what are they going to throw at me? How am I going to respond? I hope I respond well or in an appropriate way or an appropriate manner, etc., and try to navigate and work through those things as effectively and as quickly as you can, um, in the moment. So coming back, did I get most of that question? Sorry, random this, make sure this relevant to soldiering skills. So I suppose coming back, is it relevant to soldiering skills? A lot of the stuff in the core context of it is navigating to, how you manage your team, all that other stuff that I just spoke about earlier. Once you're getting in there, a different scenario. I think I've spoken about this once before. I got given a task. This wasn't on Lucky Dip. This was on a might have been part of the Lone Warrior exercise. I got given a task to try to, get $5 off a person in a bar, group of strangers. Turns out it was a, a made up bar, mock bar full of badged members and support staff who play their role extremely well. Long story short, I didn't get the $5. Come out of that exercise, I got a set amount of time. So I got the time pressure, can't say who I am. I've got to try to come up with a creative way to try to get $5 from somebody so that I can use that for whatever the task is that the directing staff has said. And essentially, I think from memory, it was just to try to come out of there with the $5. I could make up whatever story I needed to try to get people to give me $5. Nobody did. And then come out and then show that to the directing staff before the time was up. Long story short, I failed that. The time was off, got called out, uh, was made to feel pretty useless. The fact that I couldn't get the $5 off anybody. Not going to talk about some of the things that I did, because I think, well, not I think, I realize at the end of the day, nobody from my selection from my course got the $5. None of the guys that I spoke to anyway. So um, that's just is what it is. And I felt the way that I felt at the end of that. Did it stop me from carrying on? No, I just cracked on. I thought, well, they haven't kicked me off, even though they've made me feel really useless in this moment. So I'm just going to keep going. Um, so yeah, I don't know if they still include that. Maybe they change it up. Maybe they got a whole bunch of other things these days. But having that uncertainty when you're going into selection, I think, is important. Not that that's what you're asking for the playbook here in your question, but hopefully that helps answer it. Some of the core basics in terms of getting to and from is soldiering. Some of the other stuff will be your life experience. Some of the other stuff may be how well you can convince people, influence or persuade people to, give you what you might need at that time so that you can go and show the directing staff that you managed to achieve what it was that they asked you to do. So hopefully that helps answer that question, Duked, and appreciate your time. The memorizing stuff, Kim's games, you can do a lot of that stuff with the basic military Kim's game stuff, different items laid out, and then covering those up and then uncovering them. You get 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to look at, identify, note down as much detail as you can about all the items before it gets covered over. Then you go and report that. Some of those basic things are part of that as well from my time anyway. Um, and related to soldiering skills, yeah, the basics and stuff are there, and then you'll have to work out some other bits and pieces that they throw at you, in due course on the selection. Uh, James Greg, run away, brother. Thank you. What's this? Desolate Void. Hey Joe, what's your take on the combined selection they're doing now? Yeah, great question. I personally, I don't like it, but that's just the short and sweet of it. But I don't know, and I'm pretty sure you're talking about the Australian selection. I don't know what that looks like, or what sort of um, prerequisites, if any, there are before going on to the selection. So I'm it, some might say, "Oh, you're just too old-fashioned, Joe." Maybe that's the case, but I didn't think that there was anything wrong with the way that the Australian Defence Force conducted the selection beforehand. But obviously, things change, adapt, evolve, etc., etc. They're looking for ways to try to improve. They've obviously, I would assume, they've obviously done an in-depth review on how the selection process was, probably during my time, and maybe it was even. I would be surprised if it wasn't different again, even before my selection. So there's that to consider as well. So different iterations of the selection process itself. But I personally don't like it because I don't know a lot about it. I don't know what the prerequisites are. I don't know why it's been changed from, you got we had if I remember correctly, try and dust off a few cobwebs. Um, when I went through in the ADF, um, there was what they called a barrier testing, and it went for about 3 days from memory. I could be wrong. It was about 3 days. And you basically had to pass all the elements involved in that barrier testing to even get a look in at going on the SASR selection. So if you didn't pass that 3-day barrier testing to at least the minimum standard, then you weren't progressing on to SASR. You just deemed, yeah, not suitable or not ready for SASR selection. And then I think from there it would have, thankfully, because I was fortunate to get through barrier testing and be able to get onto the SASR selection. So I can't speak to any authenticity around what happened to those that didn't meet the requirements to go on the regiment selection. But I assume that those that didn't meet the requirement to go there may have been offered an opportunity to do the commando selection instead. Now, I have no idea what the commando selection looked like, what it involved, how long it went for. Um, I have no idea that, so I'm not going to try to speculate on how long that went for, or what was involved. From my bias take, um, what stood out to me was that there was clearly a higher expectation and standard required to go on the SASR selection through the barrier testing. And if you showed, I suppose, if you showed through passing all the elements required on the barrier testing, then you earned a place. That's how I viewed it anyway. Then you earned a place to be able to go on to the SASR selection. Then on there, that's another level up from the 3 days barrier testing, where now you've got 21 days to be put through the meat grinder, and then hopefully come out the other end and get the green light or the thumbs up to go, yep, you've been accepted to go onto the cycle, which is then another bigger, longer meat grinder, which is far more technical. So, and then hopefully at the end of that, you get the handshake, you get your sandy beret and your wing dagger, or the flaming sword of Excalibur, as I've been reminded and corrected when I've had a look at stuff. I've always just called it the wing dagger because that's how I heard it referred to, but apparently that winged dagger on the sandy beret is the flaming sword of Excalibur. So my apologies to anybody that might have got upset feelings with me mentioning that. I'm probably still going to upset your feelings when I keep referring it to the winged dagger. It's just how I refer to it as, and a lot of people that I know, that's how we don't go. I didn't know anybody that walked around saying, "Oh, I'm so glad I got my sandy beret and the flaming sword of Excalibur on it." Like, it was just like, stoked to have this beret. Well, I'm stoked to have my wing dagger. Like, that was it. So anyway, where was I? I think I just went way off track with regards to your question. Combined selection. Yeah, I don't like it, but that's because I don't know a lot about it. I guess if I knew more about it, and I think Reese Dowden does a bit of a breakdown. I haven't watched that fully, to be honest, so I don't know if he goes into the details, how you get selected for SASR or the commandos. I assume again there's a level and a threshold or a minimum standard whereby they'll look at candidates and go, did they meet the requirements to go to commandos, or did they exceed that and so we want them to come to SASR and go on the cycle there. So, however that looks for them, the bigger brains than mine have likely had a look at it and adjusted it and modified it to come up with this plan. So hopefully it works out for them. I really hope it works out for them, even though I may not like it again, just because I don't know much about it. Um, you can call it what you want, Joe. You earned it. Thank you. Thanks for that. Talk 5018. Yep, I'll take that. I appreciate it. Duked, solid answer, mate. I will rewatch to take it all in. I've got 2 years of training and researching Army docs. Hopefully, I stay consistent and I can have a crack. Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, wishing you all the very best, eh? Um, yeah, excited for anybody that's excited, and have a massive amount of respect for anybody that is looking to go that route, and giving yourself time, whether it's to both research and learn and understand more, as well as maybe mature a bit more, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, etc. Yeah, massive respect. I think that's an awesome thing to do. So you know yourself better than anybody else, and if you reckon you're going to use a couple of years to do some researching and probably a whole bunch of other things, physically prepare, etc., in the process, then yeah, wishing you all the very best. So yeah, thanks for the question. Um, I think, yeah, these other ones that I've got, they are, one of them I've already started. For actually, two of them I've already started for the other channel, the SAS reality check channel, because the rest of these are questions pretty much around selection. So I won't worry about reading through them here. Holy heck, I can talk, eh? That's like 41 minutes. Sorry, peoples. Um, the Yeah, these other ones are questions which I'll use in the other channel. I will put that height one in there. That one shouldn't take too long. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully everybody's doing awesome, eh? What's this? No, nothing else. Thanks again to anybody that's taken the time and decided to um, yeah, join as a channel supporter. Very much appreciated. Even just the subscription or the view itself, whether you share it, whether you comment as well, or whether you're just happy to sit back and just watch bits and pieces of the stuff that I put out. It means a lot. So thank you very much. Um, if there's no other questions, hopefully, yeah, you have an awesome weekend, and stay out of mischief, stay out of trouble, and enjoy yourselves. And hopefully your families and that are well as well. And hopefully 2026 carries on being a good year for you all and those closest to you. So that being said, as always, man, the message is the same, mate. Um, Regardless of any challenges, difficulties you might be going through, or people you know, man, you're not alone, eh? All of us at different times are going through and or will go through things, and it's just my experience that it's really important to just keep turning up, just just stay in the fight, no matter how miserable and lonely it is. Take one day at a time, put one foot in front of the other, and just keep moving as best you can. I promise you, things can do and will get better. And yeah, there is a light at the end of that tunnel. The sun will shine again, and there are better days ahead. And those better days are always closer than you and I think. So thank yous all, eh? Reach out and ask for help if you need to. It's okay to not be okay. And yeah, it's 100% okay to reach out and ask for help, even though that can be still pretty hard. Easier said than done. So anyway, as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins and who cares wins. And until the next video or upload, there's a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my aroha, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all. Sorry, I don't have much room here sitting on the couch. Enjoy watching the videos. Yeah, thank you, bro. Likewise. See you, everybody. Um,